Good evening, everyone. Back after a week off. Was a nice little break, and I was busy doing a lot of work, so I have a really sore back. So I'll try not to grimace too much from all the hard work we were doing this weekend, putting in a new shed garage for my daughter to park her new Spider in. So we still got more work to go, but keeping us busy. But I'm going to bring up my guest tonight, and we were talking a little bit backstage beforehand, so I'm going to make sure I get it right because her name. Deborah Wilde.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Very good, thank you. How are you doing today?
Doing great. So we talked a little bit about that. Deborah, I had never heard that, but you said that was kind of the original way that Deborah, now that everyone says, was.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the taking from the three syllable spelling down to the two, I think is just the British version of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and everyone else. So I don't screw it up. I'll just call you Deb. You said
Yeah.
I can call you Deb, so I'll
Yeah,
call you
totally.
Deborah if I
That's
address you as
absolutely
that.
fine.
I want to get the first name right because that's on your books because it's
That's
not
right.
Deb Wild. So and all that. But great. It's good to have you on the show. Give us a little bit about yourself, all the important stuff that people need to know about Deb.
Okay. Well, I used to be a screenwriter here in Canada for 12 years, and then I jumped ship to writing. Originally, I actually jumped ship to writing YA novels, and I tried that for a few years, and I decided that was really fun, and I learned a lot. But I wanted to write urban fantasy that had spicy romance in it and old Hollywood banter because I grew up on those films and writing that kind of dialogue's my happy place. And so in 2017, I launched my Deborah Wilde pen name and I went full time out of the gate. And yeah, 25 books later, here we are.
So a screenwriter in Vancouver, and of course there's a
Yeah.
big movie TV studios there in Vancouver that
Yeah.
a lot of TV shows get filmed up there, and it's always interesting. You watch the shows because I tell it to my wife is I've seen that location before in another show.
Yes, you
I
have.
bet you they're filming in Vancouver, aren't they? Right? I mean, there's only so many
Yeah.
places you can film and stuff. So did you work at those studios there?
No, because most of the American series that shot here, so for example, there were a lot of fantasy and sci-fi shows that I'm
Mhm.
sure a lot of your readers are familiar with, like Supernatural, Eureka, like all those shows. They
Stargate
didn't,
was my favorite show. I
yes.
enjoyed
So
that one a
they
lot.
didn't hire Canadians. They had American writers on
Right.
those ones, or if they needed Canadians for the tax credits, they hired Canadians who lived in LA. So I worked on Canadian shows. But it was pretty. I felt pretty privileged to have done that. It was a lot of fun to get to be in writer rooms.
Yeah, so you mentioned the 12 years. So what was that experience like? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
You did it for 12 years, but you decided enough for whatever reason. But
Yeah, I decided enough because at the end of that 12 years, the landscape had changed for Canadian film and television production. So broadcasters no longer had to produce a scripted drama to fulfill their content regulation. They could produce reality shows, and because those were so much cheaper, that's what they were deciding to do. So I was on a lot of shows where it was we would get to the point and it'd be greenlit, and then suddenly it would go away in favor of a reality show. Or so I got very tired of that cycle that I was sort of found myself trapped in for that, final year. And I decided I just wanted to go away and just see if I still liked writing and just do something completely different. And so I thought, okay, a YA novel would be completely different. I'll do that. And yeah, and like I said, it was a really good training ground. It was really good to understand what did and didn't transfer over from screenwriting and then eventually, and also in terms of learning marketing as an indie author, and then eventually deciding to launch my Deborah Wild pen name. So yeah, it was all a very good training ground.
so writing a screenplay or whatever, and I hate the word reality show because I laugh at reality show because they're not reality as far as I'm concerned.
It's a
People act
different kind of
different.
scripting. It's a
Yeah,
different kind of scripted.
I know. You're on camera. If you're a boring person on camera, you're not going to get any screen time. They want you to
Yeah.
do dramatic stuff, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yeah, absolutely.
so you're acting whatever to
Yeah.
get your name out there is what you're doing. But anyway, we get away from that. So how do you compare screenwriting to writing books? I mean, obviously it's a lot different process. You're learning, but you learned how to write, but it's different.
Yeah, for sure. I always say I don't actually know how to write a book. I know how to write a very long prose screenplay, and that's what I do. There were things that transferred over really well. For example, just my grounding in structure, I think really helped a lot. I'm very comfortable with structure. I'm comfortable with theme. Like I said, dialogue, writing dialogue's my happy place. So those kinds of things were great. When I was writing for network television predominantly, so that meant commercial breaks. And so writing act ends that were hooky enough that people who had gone off to channel surf during the commercial break would still want to come back was again something that proved very valuable for okay, it's they're too tired to keep reading and they've still got a pile of four other books on their bedside table. Why are they going to come back to my book, right? So building those sort of hooky chapter ends was really good. The thing that did not translate, and probably my biggest learning curve going from screenplays to novels, was in screenplays you're not writing the environment, you're not writing the description, you're not writing what the actors are doing. It's like one line to set the scene, and the actors absolutely do not want you telling them everything that they're doing in terms of their actions and their facial expressions. So I've been very lucky. My editor and I have been together for 25 books now, but I have to say that at the beginning, I got a lot of comments of, are all your characters just standing in a void? And I was like, yes, yes, they are. Thank you. So I give my editor a lot of credit with really pushing me on that front to become a much better writer and really dig into that. But it was hard, and I still struggle with it to this day. Like that just doesn't come naturally to me.
Well, that's good. You've had the same editor for 25 books. I think I've had four or five through the years, so that's a good relationship to have. You
It's an
kind of,
excellent.
I don't know, maybe you're writing, writing, you're thinking, oh, I know what she's going to react to this, maybe, or that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But she's very funny. Like she'll send me like pop culture comments in the because I have a lot of pop culture references, so she'll
Sure.
send me like down rabbit holes or, she gets my humor too, which is so important. And yeah, so she understands what I'm trying to do, and she's constantly, even 25 books later, pushing me to be a better writer. So for that, I just am like, please never leave me.
Well, if she's watching right now, it's an opportunity to ask for more money, right? So
That's right. She's worth every cent.
that's right. So you mentioned on your website that you were a global wanderer.
Yes, I
So
love to travel.
where have you gone? What are some great places you've gone around the globe and visited, and some of your favorites?
Okay, well, one highlight was sleeping under the stars in the Sahara Desert in Morocco. That
Oh,
was a
wow.
big one. Japan, Singapore, where else? I love Prague. Italy for me is just a always a go back to. My husband is Italian, and it just feels like home there. I love it there. I'm always happy to discover a new region and hang out. A lot of the states. I love the states. I'm not really traveling there right now, but I will be again. And I have a lot of friends in the states. So we've been meeting up outside the U.S. in places. So that's been really lovely too, to go adventuring with new friends. Hoping to go to South Korea next year. Yeah.
So is there anywhere you went that you really didn't like? That just like, oh, I'll never go back there. Or do you
Really
just
didn't
love
like.
going to see different places and different cultures and
I don't think there's anywhere I haven't really liked. I mean, there are places where I've been there once, and while I'm glad I saw them, I don't know that I'd necessarily go back. But I can't think of any place where I was like, yeah, that was a total write-off. I wish I hadn't gone here. Yeah.
so what hobbies what do you do to decompress? Anything other than writing? That might be your decompress, maybe.
Oh no, writing's not my decompression.
No way, huh?
I box.
Box. Okay,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
not
yeah.
making boxes, but
No,
yeah,
no, no, boxing in like
gloves.
old
Okay,
school second floor gym in Chinatown in Vancouver, uh, that, has creaky AC that only sporadically works. And yeah, so I do that twice a week with a friend of mine. And then the flip side of that is I also do Tai Chi. So I figure between pounding things and then
okay,
doing my Tai Chi that somehow I'm keeping a level emotional regulation or something.
sure. That's good. I used to we used to have a heavy bag and a speed bag, and I would hit those, and we had a kick bag that you could kick too. So
Oh, okay, I've
it
never
was
tried
a good
kickboxing.
thing to release stress.
Oh, so good. I'm amazed that like more Gen X women are not doing that.
Yeah.
That always surprises me. I'm like, really? Because, just go try it and come back to me.
So since you box and Tai Chi, some of your characters have those capabilities as well in your books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. Tai Chi, I don't know that anyone's done that one yet. The boxing for sure has come into my new book. Oh, one thing that was big, I was a tap dancer for years.
Oh, really?
And so my first series, my Unlikable Demon Hunter books, she was a tap dancer who, due to injury, had lost her entire dance dream, went up in smoke, and that sends her down the path of being kind of a hot mess. She's in her early 20s, and then she accidentally gets her brother's destiny. Her twin brother. They find out they've been training the wrong twin this whole time to join a secret society of all male demon hunters, and she's the one who gets initiated. But so the tap dance actually played a lot into that, and it was really funny. I connected with a lot of readers about that who either they had danced or I had people whose mothers had been tap dancers, whose children were tap dancers, and it was really fun to connect. People were sending me tap videos for years, like, which was really lovely.
Yeah. So on your website, you talked about your grandmother and how she never had to kill a demon, but you figured she probably could. So tell us a little
Totally.
bit about your grandma, how she influenced you.
Oh my goodness. My grandmother was the single largest influence in my life. She came out of communist Russia. And as much as she used to tell me the stories about things like if you were buying ingredients for a cake for a special occasion, you'd have to go to a lot of different stores so that people didn't start to get suspicious about what was happening. I mean, it went from stories like that to you know, she was Jewish in communist Russia, and she wasn't a communist, but she still managed to become a head librarian. And she would tell me about like one time being dared to go jump off a cliff for a bottle of beer. And like I think, and also my wanderlust came from her. Like she would, when I was little, I remember she'd be like, okay, we're getting on a bus now. And we'd just get on a city bus and we'd go somewhere and we just ride to some destination and then we just go explore what was at the end of that destination. She was larger than life. She laughed, she loved to be with her friends and just have adventures. And I think had she lived in a different time, there would have been no stopping her. But unfortunately, she was living in a time where men still controlled the finances, and there were a lot of roadblocks to what she could achieve on her own, but she was incredibly smart and spoke several languages. And yeah, I miss her all the time.
Any characters based on her in the books? Or maybe you take some character.
No, but
I'm sure you take some characteristics of her, maybe, but yeah.
there's a lot of characters. I mean, grandmothers are mentioned a lot
Mhm.
as having been special to various characters. Yeah, so I think maybe the only thing is, I have this one character in my Magic After Midlife series, Tatiana, who's like an octogenarian, world famous artist who also happens to be a magic fixer on the sly, and and is a very dangerous woman. And I think maybe some of Tatiana's characteristics, and her sprinkling of Yiddish and her judgmentalness, because my grandmother was no saint, probably do come from my grandmother. Yeah.
So, how long have you been writing? You're a screenwriter, but when you were in school, when you were a kid, did you like to write? Were you a big reader?
Oh
How
yeah.
did that all kind of
Yeah,
evolve?
yeah. Huge reader. I mean, I was the kid who, to this day, I can tell you, this is embarrassing. I can tell you what my library card number is, and I don't know my daughter's phone number off by heart.
You don't have to know anymore
Well,
because it's
that's
all
what
on our
I say.
phone.
Thank you. Yeah, I was the kid my mom would just like leave at the library and, just come out with stacks of books. Both my parents were big readers, so there was never like, you can only have three books or you can, it was just like, whatever you want, take the books out. And I used to love writing. I just didn't think it was a job regular people could have. I somehow had this thing that you either had to be like a white guy who lived in New York of a certain age, and that's how you got to be a writer. So I was like, I don't think this is for me something I can do. And I got into it via screenwriting because I'd actually done my master's thesis in film theory, which is the world's most useless degree. But then I started dating my husband, and he was a filmmaker, and so I just started doing screenwriting courses. I was like, oh, we should write a short together, and then that just kind of led me down that whole path into becoming a professional screenwriter.
So any of the stuff you wrote when you were younger, before you became a screenwriter, do you still have any of that? Did you keep any of it stored away anywhere?
I don't have any of that
Okay.
stuff anymore. Yeah, I think it got lost when we moved out of my grandparents because I grew up with my grandparents, and I think when they passed away and the house got sold, all that stuff just got
That's right.
lost or trashed by my mother. I'm not sure. In the interests of cleaning out the house.
So who were some of your go-to books, authors that you enjoyed reading? Any in particular that you really loved?
I read everything, but I will tell you the book that had the most profound impact on me. I was in the library. I was about 7 years old, and my mom was taking out all the books, and right next to the checkout desk there was a paperback carousel of adult, like just regular mass market paperbacks. And I saw this book, and on the cover there was a big red button, and it said "Don't panic." And I pulled the book out and I read the back and I handed my mother Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and I said, take this out too. And my mind was blown. And, I remember that like a lot of my classmates at the time, like this was at the height of, the what for me was the first Star Wars, not chronologically, but and they were all obsessed with Star Wars, and I was like, Hitchhikers, and I kept asking people for years, like, do you know this book? And I would like tell them about it, and they looked at me like I was crazy. And then eventually, in grade 11, a friend who is still a friend of mine to this day, she's like, yeah, you know that there were sequels too, right? And I was like, ah. Yeah, but just hearing that voice, because I'd read a lot of fantasy. I mean, I devoured the Narnia books and, all of that, Alice in Wonderland. If it had a fantasy element, I loved it as a kid, but that humor, that you could bring humor into it, it was just, a revelation for me.
Yeah, that's what we look for, and I'm always impressed with fantasy authors because it's not a genre that I could write because I figure you're building entire worlds and races and coming up with names that are unique because there's so many other authors out there. So yeah,
Yep.
it's a lot to do. You obviously have a very great imagination. So what was I got there? Oh, I was going to ask you, do you find you're talking about that wasn't your stress relief when you write, right?
No.
But do you find writing therapeutic?
Yes. Yes, and to the degree.
Yeah.
So the book I'm about to release now, which is going to be my 26th book, Gollum for Broke, it's a new series, was not supposed to be the book I was releasing. I had a book I wrote last year, and I wrote it to deal with my mother's dementia. And and it was a good book. I mean, the whole magic system was based on memory loss, and it was a great book. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling such resistance to it. And I happened to be with friends at a conference last fall, and I'd been surrounded by these women who were so excited about everything they were writing. And I remember sitting there and just going, looking at my friend and going, I don't want to put this book out, and I don't know why. And she said, okay. She goes, well, sit with it for a week. She goes, sit with it. You're waiting for your editor notes. My line edits, my final line edits were supposed to come out, and then I was going to send it to the proofreader. And she said, sit with it for a week. And me being me, I couldn't just sit with it because I always have to have like a plan B and C and D. So I ended up sending my poor editor about 500 emails. Like I would email her and go, okay, no, wait, what if we did this? I could do this. And then like I'd wake up in the middle of the night and then go, no, no, that's not going to work. And here's 17 reasons why. Like I felt so bad. She was such a sport though. She was wonderful about it. So I ended up, instead of doing just a line edit, I ended up doing almost like, well, it was a complete developmental edit on the final pass. And I sent it to her and I'm like, this book is really good. And I still don't want to release it. And I don't know why. So I went back to my friend because she'd read all my other books. I said, you like my stuff. You know what I'm capable of. Please read this and tell me why am I feeling this resistance. She got 20% of the way in and messaged me. She's like, get on a call with me right now. And so I did. And she said, this book is a lot darker than anything you've ever written. Is that where you want to be for the next few years in a series? And I just went, oh my God, no, it's not. Like I write funny, sexy urban fantasy. That's it. That is what I write. And that is what I'm very happy to write and what I want to what I not only want to spend my time writing, but what I want to put into the world. I want to put laughter into the world. And this was a dark book. And so I talked to my editor and she goes, sometimes you just need to write something because you need to process something. And so it turned out that's what that was. So I decided to pull the book. Once I made the decision, I felt like this incredible relief. I'm like, okay, well, this is the right thing to do. But I was also terrified because I have never pulled a book on my readers. I've never even pushed a release on my readers. Like when I say something's coming out, it's coming out. But I have a newsletter that goes out to them and I talk about behind the scenes stuff. And I've been very transparent the whole time about where this book had come from and what I was dealing with and stuff. And so when I told them, I said, look, I'm pulling this book and this is why. And I think, this was something I had to deal with just out of grief and all of that. And I'm so sorry. And I promise I'm going to get you another book and it'll be fun and, full of life and it'll be what you expect from me. And the response I got, I get teary thinking about it. People reached out about their own stories, like how many of my readers were also dealing with parents who, had dementia or Alzheimer's and and across the board, every single one of them was like, you do what you need to do, you take care of yourself, we will be here. Like I was so blessed to have that. But yeah, so sometimes you just write a book that is not maybe destined for to be put out in the world, but just because it's something you need to do to get out of your system to be able to move forward.
So did anybody say, I'd still like to read it?
Oh yeah, a lot of people did.
It's one of those things maybe you offer through your website for a special price, an ebook version and stuff, a free one.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Because then, but the thing was, in writing my new book, there were certain characters I really loved in this other book. And I was like, huh, I could cannibalize that other book for some of the fun characters and then make them fit into this, find a way that they organically work in this book. And so that did happen with one character in particular. And my editor was very happy to see that character come back and have new life.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your books. You've mentioned a few. You gave me some book covers.
Yeah.
So what you've got the Shades series.
Yeah, Magic After Midlife. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, and I can throw some covers up. Book one was what?
Throwing Shade.
Throwing Shade. So how did that come about?
I
And
need to poke around that.
we'll
I'm gonna
move it
just
there. So
readjust.
you're
There we go. Yeah, so this came about because I was feeling invisible and marginalized, and knowing a lot of women in their 40s also feeling invisible and marginalized. And I started to think about a woman who had once had magic, and because her parents were killed by magic assassins when she was a teen, she had spent her entire life denying that part of herself and living this aggressively normal life. And then her best friend goes missing and she chooses to reclaim the magic. And I thought, how lovely to have a woman who has shadow magic which is tied to invisibility. But the thing about shadow magic is if you are invisible, no one sees you coming, and so how that invisibility and how being in the shadows ultimately becomes the thing that makes her incredibly not just powerful, but more importantly to me, empowered. And what was really fun about this series was so Miriam is a librarian and a single mother. And she co-parents with her ex. He's still very much in her life and very close to her. But her daughter Sadie was basically lifted off my own daughter with her permission, to the point that when I was stuck in certain dialogue, I would text my kid and just go, okay, so Miriam just said that. What would Sadie say? And she'd be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yes, that is what Sadie would say. And I stick it in. And it was funny because people who know me and know my daughter, like one of our cousins was just like, oh my God, that was so like she knew right away that's what it was. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to incorporate.
So the stiletto heel there that has the magic going, is the shoe provider the powers, or is it just
No,
a design?
no, it's a high heel,
Yeah.
woman's awesome high heel shoe.
So that was book one. So
Yes.
when you wrote book one, and I think you've had what, seven? Is that
There
right?
was seven. Yep, it's complete series at seven.
So did you envision there was going to be seven books when you wrote the first book, or was it really you were thinking, well, it's one book and then we'll see?
There's always an element of we'll see in terms of what the final number is going to be. I was coming off my first series, there were seven books. My second series, there were four, which later became six because two more got added. But the last two hadn't been added yet. And so for this one, I knew I wanted to go longer again than just four books. I wasn't sure if it was going to be seven. The way I tend to write series is I know, so there's a plot that gets solved in every book, and that's the magic mystery of the book or the monster that has to be killed or whatever it is, depending on the series. And then there's like there are two overarching series arches, which is the romance, and then whatever is the personal mystery to the character that they have to solve. So for Miriam, it became what really happened to her parents. And I didn't know how many books that was going to take. But by about book five, I was like, okay, yeah, I've got two more books and this will be wrapped up now. And for me, once the story's done, it's done. So I have a lot of people who are like, give me more Miriam. And I'm like, I'm sorry, her story is told for me. Like that we're done now. So
So you say humorous paranormal. So how much humor, and do you find humor easy to write, or do you find it more difficult? And
well, I mean, had you asked me a year ago, I would have said easy. I'm finding in this current state of the world, it's a little more challenging to go out and just be funny.
yeah,
I grew up in a household that processed pretty much everything through the lens of humor. There was a lot of, we would watch like old Neil Simon comedies and, a lot of the classic Hollywood screwball. And, like those were the things that was our storytelling. And yeah, it was just, we used humor to cope with a lot of stuff. So for me, all those things kind of converged and just became foundational in my books. All my books are funny. Yeah. I can't write, I mean, I did write that one dark book, but it's not a place I'm comfortable sitting for a series.
so you seven books. So did you want to kind of go through each book, or you do the last one? I can throw all the covers up here. We got them all. So what?
I don't know that I remember the specifics of every book.
It's been so long. How many? When was the first book released? How many years ago was that?
So the first book was 2021 to 2023, I think. Yeah, something like that.
So you've been doing a couple a year almost. It sounds like. Yeah,
Yeah. My
pretty quick.
best was four in one year. Not on this series, but I've slowed way down. This year there'll be the one. There was supposed to be that other one, but now because of that, there's just the one this year.
So we'll throw up the last one because I think
Yes.
Ace of Shades was the last one, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of wrapped everything up in this
Yeah.
a neat little bow, I'm guessing, and
Yeah.
no cliffhangers.
No
It's
cliffhangers.
the
Oh
end.
no.
So
No.
give us a little bit about this book.
So this is, well, I don't want to spoil it, but this is where she knows who killed her parents, why they killed her parents, and this is about her taking them down. And but also at the same time, where she thought, I mean, all my books also contain a lot of found family. So the people that she has gathered in her life along the way become the people who become integral to helping her stop them. And in the very end, I think the most surprising person of all is the one who helps her defeat the bad guys.
We got to defeat the bad guys,
Yeah,
right?
you got to defeat the bad guys, but she couldn't have done it on her own. So,
Does
yeah.
she have like a sidekick partner of some kind to
She
help her
ends
through
up
the series?
saddled with a golem, a gender fluid golem called Emmett, who likes to steal people's clothes and watch Golden Girls. He's obsessed with the Golden Girls. And she gets saddled with it. She meets him in book one. He's actually what kicks things off because when her best friend goes missing, she goes to her best friend's place to find to see if there's any clues, and she finds a golem there. And she didn't, magic in this world, in this series, is hidden, and she had no idea her friend had magic, and her friend has no idea she has magic. And so she's discovered her friend has created a golem, and that just kind of rocks her world off its axis.
So in this series, it's 7 book series. Should you start at the beginning and read,
Yes,
or are they?
yes. All my books have to be read in order. Each series. There's no connection between the series, but each series needs to be read in order. Yeah.
All right. So your new book, which is coming out in October,
Yeah.
and we've got that covered. So give us a little bit about this one. We have some magic in this as well. Looks like.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, because they're all urban fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is about Tova Silver. She's in her mid 40s. Basically, my hook line for this is surviving your 40s requires good friends, strong coffee, and a morally flexible relationship with illegal magic. So she inherited a magic problem solving agency from her aunt that she's been running with 3 other women for the past few years, and all 4 of them ended up manifesting magic while they were in perimenopause. And so that's not very common. And people tend to, so most people get it. Magic occurs at intense developmental stages in people's lives, or something intense has happened to them. So there's a lot of people getting it in adolescence. So you get a lot of shifters then and chaos mages and that. So women who get perimenopausal magic are kind of treated like a party trick. And what they don't know is that every single one of these 4 women has also manifested a second, far more dangerous kind of magic. But 2 kinds of magic are frowned upon to the point you are thrown in a deep, dark hole and never heard from again. So they have kept it, like many things in perimenopause, they didn't even share this with each other for a very long time because women in perimenopause don't talk about perimenopause very much, as I learned. So a lot of this was coming out of my own experiences of what my friends and I did talk about or did not. And then once we finally started talking, everything that came out. So I really like that as a foundation to start. But what happens is she gets attacked by a golem at the very beginning, and she has to use her illegal magic to finish it. She thinks she's covered her tracks with her perimenopausal magic to stop it, but she attracts the attention of both the city's magic cops and, even worse, the city's only golem maker, who knows exactly how golems can and cannot be stopped, and he knows there's no way she did it with her regular magic. Yeah.
The magic cops.
Yes. Yeah. You have to have magic cops. If magic is out in the open, then
Yeah.
you have to have the regular police force and the magic police force.
And is there talk of defunding the magic cops as well?
Not
Are they good or bad or
They're good. They're
yeah?
good. I have dealt with so I tend to mix up through my series which ones have hidden magic, which ones have magic out in the public. And my Jezebel Files series, that was the one that dealt the most with the politics of having magic out in the open, to the point where the main character Ashira, her own mother, who does not have magic, works for a BC, British Columbia provincial party, and is the policy legislate. Like she writes the legislation to put anti-magic guardrails on everything. So that was the one that, and then she ends up, Ashira ends up working for the head of the magic community, the leader of the Western magic community, who's been her nemesis since Jewish summer camp when they were 15. So she's torn between these two things. But that was the one where I most sort of got into sort of factions of magic and anti-magic. So far, it hasn't come up in this book, in this new series, Mad Queens.
So it says number one at the top. So obviously there's going to be a number two,
Yes,
and
there
then
is.
some. Do you have an envision about how many books you think this series is going to go, or is it kind of you just kind of play it by ear like the other ones?
I think this is the one I have the least vision of how many books it is.
Yeah.
I think I'm being a little perhaps overly cautious just after pulling that other book. I just, I think I don't want to overthink this. Like I just want to try to just have fun and pour that joy into the story for myself and for my readers and see where it goes. I can't imagine it would be less than 5 books, but I don't know where I haven't determined yet where we're going with it.
And has book two already been started, written?
If by started you mean there are 2,000 words written, yeah,
Yeah.
that
All right.
counts, right?
That sounds better than 2 words, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Got a title, maybe even,
I
an
do, but I'm
idea?
not going to share the title for book
Yeah,
two.
that's fine. I'll
I
wait
do
and
have
hear.
a title. It has a
Well,
title, and it
and
even
titles
has,
sometimes change.
yeah, it even
Yeah,
has an outline to the end of Act One.
yeah.
That's as far as I've gotten.
Still working on that. So
Yeah.
that kind of leads on to my next. Are you a plotter or a pantser? So it sounds like you're pretty much a plotter.
I'm a weird hybrid.
You're in
So,
between. Okay.
yeah, because of my screenwriting training, my first series, I was like a very rabid plotter. Like everything was plotted out. And then it started to get a little looser. I'm at the point now where I try to figure out. I still use Blake Snyder's Save the Cat screenplay structure for beating out my first drafts. So I'll try to know sort of the tent pole, the big beats in it. But I will beat out Act One when I'm doing book one, and sometimes that's as far as I'll just kind of stop at that point. But I want to nail down the voices. So when I get to Act One, having rewritten it several times, at that point I tend to panic and go, oh, I have a whole Act Two now. I need to fill up. So let's go back to those Blake Snyder beats and see what needs to be filled in, and then I'll just keep going from there. And there's also 3 plots, right? So there's that A plot, then there's some kind of minor B plot, which in book one is not well, it is about her personal history, but you don't really, it's not obvious how. And then there's the love interest, which is the final subplot.
So are you a dedicated writer? Do you write every day, or are you kind of helter skelter as well when it comes to your writing? How's that go for you?
I don't write every day because I count like thinking time or outlining time, or I need to build this magic system.
Hmm.
But when I do write, I protect my writing time very vigilantly, and I write first thing in the morning. So there's no social media that happens. There's no checking emails. Like that is my time because I will get derailed or upset or et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
So yeah, I try to be very protective of that time.
And I'm sure that's tough to do. For me, I've got multiple screens here, and of course, I've got my writing over here, and of course, over here is a browser that's got Facebook and whatever else open. It's like, and your emails here, and it's like trying to. I mean, I should close it all, but I'm not
But
that
you
sure.
know,
I should. I should. But you're right. You get derailed really quick. You get
Yeah.
on Facebook or something, and it's like boom, 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 and you're like, where'd the day go? It's all gone already. Yeah.
Yeah, or one post that, something makes me sad or angry
Yeah.
and then suddenly like that's it. I'm struggling to try to be in the right headspace to write.
Well, and social media has gotten very political. It used to be more connecting with people, and now it's just all the politics and trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can bring you down really quick when it comes to doing it. So are you? So how are your books published? Are you traditionally published? Are you self-published,
I'm
independent?
self-published, yeah.
Okay.
Before I published my first The Unlikable Demon Hunter books, I actually did contact an agent in New York, and we actually came down to the wire. His assistant had read them, he loved them, the assistant loved them. But he said to me, he goes, "Your books have too much romance for urban fantasy and too much urban fantasy for paranormal romance. So you need to pick a lane." And I just went, I don't think I do. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then luckily my that first book of that series was an Amazon bestseller and I didn't look back. So I was like, yeah, I felt pretty much like if I wanted to read urban fantasy with spicy romance, there were bound to be other people who did too. So yeah.
And you like being independent, being the boss, so to speak. We sit there and say, well, we get all the money, but that's not necessarily true because you still got your editors and
Oh, those
Amazon. If you're going through Amazon, takes their 30-some% or
everyone
whatever
takes a
it is.
cut. And I just started a Shopify store a couple of years ago. I convinced my husband to leave his job in film production and come build and run a Shopify store for me so I could sell direct. And that's been its own, I mean, that's his full-time job. So, and there's a lot of expenses, things that didn't even occur to me, like security. Because as soon as you have something like a Shopify store, you're getting attacked by bots
Oh yeah.
constantly, and so we're constantly leveling up, doing something new to make sure that, we're not getting hacked, we're not, and yeah, so do I like being indie? I like being indie because I am anal retentive and I like being the one who gets to control my brand and what it looks like and what it sounds like. So, I get to pick I have final say on the covers. I have, that kind of stuff. I get to pick my audiobook narrators, that kind of thing. But it's a lot and there's a lot of times I feel like the writing is the thing I'm doing the least of because I'm doing all the other aspects of the publishing, being a publishing house.
Right.
Yeah. So,
That is a challenge, and I've had many traditionally published authors. Some of them say, "I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just want to write my books. I let everybody else take care of it." And what
yeah,
you can
and
do as
that's
an
fantastic.
independent, but you're going to be paying a lot of money
Yeah.
for them. Now, if you're making a lot of money,
Well, and it's hard too because so there's one thing that a lot of indie authors try to outsource are ads, the Facebook ads or the Amazon ads. And with Facebook ads in particular, the what many people say and I agree with is sadly, and it really is sadly, authors know their books the best and they run their ads the most effectively. So even with all the learning, and it's a constant learning and relearning because Facebook is constantly changing how ads work. So for example, last year they took away all the author targets that we had. And suddenly we were just supposed to trust their AI, and that just burned everybody's ads down.
yeah,
So yeah, there's this constant learning, and I have desperately tried to outsource my Facebook ads. I've been like, please take my money. Here is my money, to people who are supposedly experts in the author sphere, people who are not in the author sphere. They're like in New York and they're digital marketing experts. And like I have tried so many places and nobody has run them as effectively for what that's worth as I do or yeah, they're not doing a better job than me. I'm not seeing better returns. Often I'm seeing a lot worse and I'm still having to provide them with creative content. And so it's like, well, at that point, what am I paying somebody for? So then that becomes another thing that just comes back on me. So
more work.
more work. Yeah. But, I get to write books for a living, so, really, let's put all this in perspective.
So you said this new book is number 27,
26.
26, and
26 of the
how many
Deborah
years?
Wilde books.
And
Since
how many years?
2017. 2017.
Wow, that's a lot of books in 8 or 9 years. That's pretty good, almost 9 years. So I hate to ask this question, but I sometimes ask this: is like, have you ever experienced writer's block and how you work through it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had really bad burnout. In 2022, it was just before Halloween, I broke my ankle in three places while roller skating, and ended up having two surgeries for it. And I came out of the surgeries. I think I had the surgery like Saturday, no, on Friday. Sunday, I was back at home doing a digital conference. I was lying on my back with my foot propped on a pillow, and the one of the keynote speakers, and I'm like taking notes. I'm like, I'm fine, I can keep going. And one of the keynote speakers said, I think she opened her talk by saying something like, "When was the last time you felt joy?" And I just burst into ugly crying. And I was like, I think I'm burned out. So there was a lot of I I needed to go refresh my creative well. So I ended up doing a lot of rehab so that I could go on a 5 week road trip through Italy that
Mhm.
following spring and be walking up lots of cobblestone hills and stuff like that. And just pulled back on a lot of what I'd been doing other than the books. And yeah, it took a long time to crawl out of that. And so I'm very, there's been a lot of projects I've been doing this year, and I'm very aware that I might be getting to that line again. So I need to pull back. I need to, refill the creative well. What's that going to look like? Go out for dinner with friends more. My husband and I were going to try taking pool lessons to play billiards. Like, just however, what else can I be doing that is not me in front of my computer?
Mhm.
Because the creativity has to come from somewhere. And yeah.
Yeah, it does, and I understand what you're talking about because that those ideas sometimes sometimes they just kind of just roll around in your head and you're like, oh, there's too much. I can't. At least for me, sometimes it's like, oh, I got this book, I got this idea, I got that idea. Trying to all capture.
The shiny. There's a new shiny idea.
So, is there a book you want to write that you haven't written yet? That something that's kind of like you're
No,
just saying, burning a hole in your head. Anything?
no,
Nothing really right now?
no, not right
Nothing
now.
different than, I mean, you had the one you told us about that you didn't release. That one
Which
was,
was still urban fantasy. It was just a much darker, like
yeah.
very dark urban fantasy. No, right now I'm still really happy writing these books. Like I
Mhm.
said, like I get to combine my love of magic, my love of, witty banter and romance and the thing that's been fun too is all of my series are set in some version of my hometown of Vancouver. So I get to find something new to bring to the series that hasn't been done before. So, for example, in the Magic After Midlife books and Throwing Shade, we have this 2 block long street in Vancouver called Blood Alley. And I had not until that point written vampires into my book, into any of my books. But because again, I felt like I had to have something new to contribute to the conversation because so many amazing authors have written amazing vampire books. And I didn't want to just do something that was like, oh yeah, that's like a second rate Anne Rice or whatever, right? But I found my way in, so I knew what I wanted to do with the vampires that was unique for my mythology. And then I was like, and the vampire magic territory has to be Blood Alley. Like, you go through this magic pocket and you're in, the Blood Alley vampire version of it. So it's been fun finding things in Vancouver that truly exist that can be repurposed for magic, for a magic world.
So are all your storylines based in modern times or are
Yeah,
there some in the
yeah,
past or in the
no,
future? No? Okay.
all modern times.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're about 50 minutes here, so we're getting close to wrapping up here. But I always ask this question. Name of the show is Bringing Life to Characters. So, what's your secret sauce for building your characters, bringing them so they jump off the cage with people? Do you have any good advice there on character creating? You talked a little bit about it earlier.
It's finding the thing that is organic and true for a character. Like it has to be more for me than they're just moving through some kind of magic wacky adventure. There has to be real life grounding them, whatever that looks like to their stage of life. So, my 20-year-old, it's going to be very different from my, 40 something single mom. But I still want it to reflect reality and be grounded in reality and those concerns and those fears and and then and the joys too, so it's not just fears or responsibilities, it's also what are the joys. So how are they just fully fleshed out real people rather than sort of agents acting and reacting in a story.
And then they have magical powers.
And then they have magical
And then
powers,
they have magical powers. Yeah.
because some of us have big wish big fantasies of our own that we had magical powers, so
Well,
wish fulfillment.
the perimenopausal part that you had mentioned, that
Yeah.
obviously that's a real thing that women, as they get older, deal with and struggle with. So that's a
Yeah.
good.
So I figured I could have some fun with that because those symptoms are not fun. So might as well
You figure you're
repurpose.
going to have a geriatric character eventually too. That we've gone from 20 to 30 to 40, and
Maybe as a main character. I get a lot of people emailing me saying, 40's not old. You need to, I said it's an older heroine. I didn't say 40 was old. But they're like, where's my 70-year-old? And I'm like,
right.
okay, well, let me get there. When I get there, I may very well be writing those characters because, but I feel like I have to be able to speak authentically to an experience. So, yeah.
So, do you have any advice for aspiring authors who want to write and get into this crazy business?
Yes, finish your first draft. That was the advice I always gave my screenwriting students because it is so easy to get into the trap of rewriting and rewriting. And advice I was once given, so this is not mine, but it's always stuck with me. Somebody was talking about how nobody mines finished jewelry. You're pulling the raw materials out of the ground and then you see what you have and what is beautiful and what you can work with, and then you refine it and you refine it and you refine it. And I always think about that. It's like finish your first draft because you will see the beautiful things you have in it, and then you can start to refine those things.
Yeah, that is good advice. It's some people work on them for years and years and years and never get that first one finished, and that's
Yeah,
takes a lot of time. How
yeah.
about marketing? You talked a little bit about how it can gobble up a lot of your time.
Yeah.
Your husband is helping you, obviously, dealing with the store and all that. So, any good marketing tips for anyone, especially for an independent author?
Start small. It's if you feel like you don't have a lot of energy to be marketing, then Kindle Unlimited is possibly the right, and you want to be indie, then Kindle Unlimited is possibly the right choice for you. Like I started in KU, I was in KU for 6 years and I had a great run. Like I have no regrets. It got to the point where it was not great for me anymore. I was getting too obsessed with staying sticky in rank, but the marketing was a lot simpler. And there was only one retailer I had to upload to instead of I'm wide and my store, and there's so many moving pieces. So it's okay to start small and keep building as you have the energy and the experience. It can be very easy to fall into FOMO, and I know this from personal experience. But we're living in tough times, so do this in a way that is sustainable for you.
Well,
Yeah,
and you can burn through a lot of money
and you
real
can
quick
a lot
doing
of
this, that. I'm sure
oh
you were talking about securing your Shopify site, but I'm sure you get a lot of scam emails and stuff that are
oh constantly.
constantly coming to you. And
Constantly. And they're getting better and better. Like there are ones where I've had to just stop and, go into, open a browser and go into a deep dive to try to like, is this real? Because
yeah,
this is so good now
yeah,
that it might be real. And inevitably it hasn't been so far, but yeah.
a lot of AI driven stuff. Do you get
Yeah.
fake emails from they're claiming they're some famous author?
Oh yeah. Yeah. My favorite was Sylvia Plath reached out to me, which I thought was pretty good. Like,
But it
huh,
usually comes from a Gmail account, and it's like, okay, these big authors, they have their own domains, they have their own websites. I mean, they're not going to use a Gmail account, but
yeah,
I just laugh sometimes.
it's ridiculous.
Yes. So events, you got any events you're going to be doing here in the future? Do you do a lot of events?
I haven't done a lot of events. I've done a couple book signings. I was supposed to be in Berlin for Rare, but it, again, just the situation with my mom and stuff, it was too much. I didn't want to leave. There's supposed to be a big book signing here in Vancouver again next year in summer 2027, called BB4E. They had one last year and I was at that, so I probably will do that one again. But other than that, I'm not planning to travel. It's a lot from Canada. Like it costs a lot to ship things places, and then if there's any stock I have to ship home, it just costs a fortune to get stuff here. So yeah, no plans. Trying to pull back, trying to scale back and just focus on the books.
Well, and the fantasy stuff does real well at the Comic Cons and things like that. And if there are any that are in here where you don't have to travel, maybe in Vancouver, those
Yeah,
are
we have Fan Expo. I would love, like, that is a
too
dream
expensive.
actually, is to do a Comic Con. I would love to go with a friend of mine. We had talked about it before. The problem for me is book signings in the US require me to have a visa. Even if I'm just signing books for one afternoon, if I am selling books, I need a visa to work there, and that's just not plausible. Like that's a
Yeah,
months and months and months long process and thousands of dollars. It's like, so for me to go to a book signing in the States,
not worth it. Yeah,
it doesn't even feel possible for me.
yeah, I can understand that. So we're just about in an hour here. So you've got your website. You have a very detailed website. I'm going to put that up here, and there's a Facebook page. And I know you have a big shop there that you sell merchandise. I'm assuming that's the Shopify. I mean, is this
Yeah,
linked to your
Deborah
website?
Wilde Books is my Shopify store.
Mhm.
And if you want just all of my wide retailer links and everywhere I am, just go to deborahwilde.com, drop the books. And it's just deborahwilde.com.
And you sell signed paperbacks that people
Yep.
own.
Yeah, signed paperbacks. We have audiobooks, we have ebooks, we have discounted bundles. It's great because I can control the pricing and give you better deals, give readers better deals, so that's nice too. Yeah, and I'm gonna be foraying into special editions. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so all those things.
How do you deal with the shipping to the U.S.? Because I have some that want books in Canada. Usually it's just crazy expensive to try to ship.
So my paperbacks are all print on demand through Book Vault,
Okay.
and yeah, and it's still like the shipping that is charged, especially in Canada, like my Canadian readers reach out to me. I'm like, I know, I'm really sorry. Like as a Canadian, it hurts my heart to see how much you're being charged. I
Yeah.
don't set those prices. They come from the printer. So yeah, it's hard. It's shipping's a lot.
Yes. Yes. It gets really crazy at times. So. Okay. Well, we're just about at an hour. Was there anything else you wanted to cover or talk about?
No, I think this was great. Thank you
I think
so much.
I think we picked your brain pretty good.
Yeah,
So, your other book will be coming out in October. I'm assuming
yeah,
it's on pre-order now. People
it
can
is.
order.
It's on pre-order everywhere. So
Mhm.
Amazon, my store, Kobo, Google Play, Apple, Barnes and Noble, it's all there.
All places that you can get it, and if you're doing Kindle, it'll download on release day. So,
Yeah.
well, good luck.
Thank you.
Always fun. The new release coming out. It's always exciting, and then
Yeah.
it's on to the next book, and then the next book, and the next book. But good luck with that. Hopefully, it does really well. Especially book one in a series is always interesting to see. I'm sure you've had some early readers read it and giving you feedback. I'm assuming you have some
It's
art
happening
readers.
this week. It's
Yeah.
happening this week. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. They just got it. So yes, I'm
Yeah.
expecting any time now.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Deb. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was
Yeah.
really a lot of fun.
Yeah. Great. And we'll say goodbye to you, and I'll put you backstage, but maybe we'll run into each other one day. Not that I get to Canada very often. So
No, now you have to come. You were supposed to come, so
I was supposed to come. We were supposed to come. I was telling her before the show we were supposed to have the honeymoon in Vancouver 30 years ago. So we were going to go to BoucherCon in Calgary, but with all the
oh,
costs and all this political stuff between, we won't get into politics here in the United States because it's really a mess right now. But traveling, we're like, oh, do we want to travel to Calgary? And then we have to get, because I don't have a passport either, so I had to go through all that. And then so we decided we weren't gonna do it this year, and but we really wanted to. And Calgary is, I hear, is a beautiful place. It's in October, which seems like a not the best
Cool.
time of year to have it, but
Yeah. I was considering going too, because I've
yeah.
never been to that conference and it sounds pretty great. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to make it.
I went to the Nashville one a couple years ago because I do Killer Nashville, and they were back-to-back
Oh, okay.
weeks, and it was. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
They were holding at the Gaylord in Nashville, and that's like a city. That place, that hotel there is
Oh,
huge, and they were having us walk everywhere. One elevator to get up 2 floors to where all the panels were being held. So, and there was always a line to get on the elevator. It was a little elevator too. So you're always taking the stairs up. So yeah, I got a lot of exercise, and it was 100 degrees when we were there too. So that was
oh, wow.
yeah,
That won't be Calgary.
not in October, no. So,
No.
okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Best of
much.
luck.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate you being on. Let's turn off the banners there. We will be back next wepe. Oh, I forgot to look on it, but I'm going to have two authors on. It's going to be the 8th, so a week from today, and it's going to be Mark McWaters and Mike Strickland are going to be on. So I'm going to have two authors to interview, so it's going to be interesting how to do that. They're not co-authors either, so they're with the same agent. So we'll have them on and we'll talk about their books. But take care. We'll see you then.